Hey, thanks for tuning in to part 7 of the MasterCraft Prostar carpet and interior project. The last thing that needs to go in is the fuel tank. But before it goes in, we're going to dedicate this episode to dealing with some of the challenges when fueling this boat. See if we can stop that fuel from kicking off the nozzle and spilling out the top by adding an additional vent. Let's get to work. The fuel tank is all cleaned up. It's ready to go. I've got all the parts in the boat ready to receive it. And what I did is this particular tank has the fuel supply line here, and it had just a plug. I just took this 1/2-inch plug out and replaced it with this little brass bung that I happen to have, and threaded it in its place. This is the vent line to the original vent, and it goes through a piece of pipe to kind of keep it up high, but it does not have a loop. Some boats, and I know there's recommendations that some have a loop like this in them, but this one has a very large vent line, and there's no putting a loop in this one. So this model didn't have the loop. And my original fuel lines are all dated 1989, so this stuff's never been touched. This will be the vent for my original side, and then I've got another piece here, and I'll go from here to my new vent. And maybe with twice the venting, I'll get an easier time filling the fuel. So this is the exact vent from the other side of the boat, and I've made all my measurements, and I know exactly where it needs to go, so I'm just going to reference the center point now, and everything looks good on the inside. Still, reason to be nervous drilling a hole in a perfectly good boat. So I'm going to do just a small hole and then check where it pops out. The hole needs to be a little more than 5/8, so I'm going to work my way up through a number of bits. I don't want to end up with some weird problem out here. So I'm going to go ahead and drill a pilot hole. I'm going to take a peek inside and see where that turned out. Perfect. I'm gonna work my way up. That's gonna do it. It's nice and tight. I can get it back out. Okay. Gonna be just right. So I'll get the tape off, I'll get some silicone, and the nut for that. Comes with a little washer for the back side. Of course, it's not submerged, so it's not gonna leak just from a little splashing, but okay. Silicone on the threads here. Again, probably not necessary, but I don't want a problem back there like I had before with a bunch of mud and water. Oh, wait a minute, does it have a little collar that needs to go in there? Wait a minute. Might not be big enough. Didn't notice that, but there's a little collar on this. So I'm gonna need to get my round file out and work on that hole just a little bit more. I didn't see that, so I need another skosh off of there if that's a measurement. skosh and a half. All right, so I will go get a wrench, snug that up, and we'll get the tank in and get everything hooked up. Tank's ready to go after a whole lot of trouble. End up having to repair the pickup tube. Found it laying in the bottom of the tank. So I got that taken care of. I got the vent installed. Now it's just a matter of making all the connections and getting brackets on, and we should be good to go. It'll be the only MasterCraft on the lake with 2 vents. Maybe. I will let you know if that was worth the time, trouble, and money. But I've got a good feeling about it. We're down to the last few things that need to be done with the fuel tank. I've got the vent lines all clamped on. I've got the fuel lines hooked up, or the fuel line hooked up and in place. And it's pretty tight in there. This thing has to fit back in tight and kind of tip up and under the blower line. It's not where they come into a little plenum back there to get it up, snug up against the back wall that has some pads that kind of keep it up tight. And then I gotta get my speedos hooked up. That's on the list for the next little bit here, but and I also need to go down to the hardware store for just a couple of screws. I've got a bad screw for the top of the bulkhead up here that has the sending unit and the pickup tube, and then now the additional vent tube. The vent lines are already designed to be up high. Over here there's a piece of PVC pipe. The vent line goes from here up high and then around and down. This vent over here goes up over the top of my new shower pump bracket. So it's also right up high here. And it comes right over here, over the top of the blower hoses, and straight down between the 2 blower hoses into my, what was the original vent bung on the top of the tank. So they're up high, they should do what they're supposed to do. What else do I gotta do here? Oh, I had a bracket. I was missing one of these brackets. There's 4, there's 2 in the front here, there's 1 on the back, and then 1 that goes back here, and I had to make it. Had to come up with a makeshift extension here, but I got that on, and I got those last few screws on the tank brackets. That thing is solid, and it's more solid than it was when I got the boat because it was missing a bracket, plus it was missing a couple screws back here. So it's great to do this project and go through it and make sure every bolt and nut and screw is back where it's supposed to be. Like these side panels, they were missing all kinds of nuts and screws and washers, and they had some that were stainless, some that weren't. So this is a great opportunity to go through everything. And I think collectively, this boat's just gonna have a much more solid feel on the water. It's the same thing when I screwed down the windshield. It was missing 6 nuts on the windshield. So I
Got all new nuts and lock washers and fastened that all up, got it tight. And then, like I said, collectively, I think this thing should feel really good. I got the shower hose hooked up. I put an extra 10 feet of hose in here. This is kind of how it was set up when I got the boat. So I replaced all this hose. It's a little clunky to have this much hose in here, but when you want to rinse off more than just what's within this range. And the other thing I'm going to have to do today, if I'm lucky enough to get this boat in the water today, is leave these panels off. So I want to get it in the water and check everything for any leaks. Run the speedos, make sure I don't have any problems with those. Check for fuel leaks, check for shower water leaks, check everything under here. Just kind of give it a look over, kind of open, and then I'll come back with my panels. I can install them down there on the lake and get everything in. Just crawled up under the bow because I wanted to tighten this loose eyelet up, thinking it had a nut to tighten up, but it doesn't. It just has a rod, and this just needs to twist in. So I'm gonna see about turning it. I got a big pipe I could stick in there, but I don't really want to go too crazy. It turns pretty easy. I think I just need a half a turn out of it. I just need to watch carefully because I'm really worried about, well, maybe nothing to worry about. That might be all it needs right there. That's still a little sloppy. I'll go one more. Doesn't really feel like it's doing much. I'm going to go another one. I don't feel good about going much further than that. That's that feels pretty good. I don't want to risk it. It does have a rubber washer under here, but it's not rattling anymore. So that solved the problem. I got a little package here, and I'm hoping it's for me. Wait for a little something here to show up. Oh yeah. All right. It's here just in time. Okay, here's a little demonstration of fueling the MasterCraft with my new 2-vent system, and started out with the fuel nozzle in the traditional angle there and set at the fastest pump speed, and it kicked off at about 3 gallons. So I reset it to the next slower speed and topped it off with 10 gallons, and it kicked off just nice, and not a single drop splashed out or spilled out.
So I'm going to call this a huge success. So when it comes to these fueling problems, most people will tell you it is a vent issue. And the vents on these boats have a 3/8 line. So I really just think it's, as long as your vents are clear, I think it's more about the fact that there's more fuel flow going in than there is the ability of air getting out. So I don't claim to be a hydrological geotechnic noologist on this kind of stuff, but I'd say if you can get more ventilation, then that should solve the problem. And in this case, it absolutely did. Well, this is what I've been waiting for, is an opportunity to ski behind my 1990 MasterCraft Prostar. I'm going to take a short ride. It's been a couple years since I've skied. And because we're behind the vintage ski boat, we'll be skiing on my vintage Conley Concept, purchased used in 1985. High school graduation present. Hey, this does wrap up the interior project, including all the new carpet in this boat. I appreciate everyone watching these videos, and because this is an old boat, there's always work to do. And as interesting things come about, I'll be sure to put them on video and get them on YouTube for you to enjoy. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.